Welcome to Shikshan Setu Dialogues, the future of education. We have today with us Dr. Shivani Naik, an accomplished academician with over 15 years of experience in higher education, specializing in HR, marketing, management. She is currently an assistant professor at NMIMS and has contributed extensively to research, digital education, entrepreneurship. With over 20 publications and multiple authored books to her name, and her deep insights into evolving education trends and industry expectations, she brings a powerful perspective on how students can navigate careers in today's rapidly changing world. Hi, Dr. Shivani. Welcome on Shikshan Setu
Hi.
Dialogues.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Amrutha. It's a privilege, and I'm so looking forward to share my
Thank
experiences.
you, because you are going to share some valuable insights with the students. So my first question
Yeah.
is, you have spent over 15 years in the field of education. uh, how have you seen education evolve? Major shifts that you foresee in the next decade, probably?
Mhm. It's hard to break it now to the
Sure.
educators here. Initially, if you look at education,
Mm-hmm.
they were kind of the gatekeepers of knowledge, and they would keep the books were given by them. There was a prescribed syllabus that would go, I need to study from that, and so on and so forth. But now education is more about, it's something to validate the learning that you have, and not the gatekeepers of the knowledge per se, because now knowledge is available everywhere. You do have micro learnings happening through Coursera, edX, and you have so many other avenues like Swayam and so many other such avenues already there. So right now knowledge is available everywhere. The problem is education's job right now is pertaining to structuring that knowledge
Mm.
instead of a scattered information. So when students attend college also, they say, oh, this is available on internet and there's some influencer talking about this, but these are all random bits and bits of knowledge everywhere.
Correct.
What education now, a formal education, does is it tries to structure.
Correct.
Second thing is, if you say that we have learned certain skill sets or we have learned finance and this and that, there has to be a uniform authority to tell that, okay, what you have learned, it's what the world is looking for right now. So our work is more about validating, and now education is more about a facilitator, not somebody who simply imparts. Teaching is one thing, but facilitation of the students towards the practical aspect, that is how our role has shifted from being typical educators to that side of the story right
More
now.
like mentoring.
More like mentoring, more like guiding, more like counseling wherever it's required. We are hand holding them towards not just a degree, we are hand holding them towards a career, a life. That's what our role should be, I feel.
So, what does then the future look like, especially in your sector, say management, HR, entrepreneurship? What do you
Okay,
think?
these are the most practical areas that you asked right
Absolutely.
now, right? So I'll tell you how HR, management, and entrepreneurship are changing drastically right now. So industries will no longer ask you the questions such as, okay, you studied HR, come join us as an HR manager.
Hmm.
It doesn't just work like that anymore, because you can see with HR you have analytics coming up right now.
Right.
So with there are actually profiles such as a remote work strategy manager.
Oh,
So when you have one fourth or half of your workforce which is working in a hybrid mode, how do you keep track of balancing the remote workforce with the regular workforce? And you also have gig workers coming on into the picture to complicate the HR setting. So now for HR student, it will be more about, do you know the real world problems in the HR area and how can you solve them? That's how HR is going to be right now. When I talk about marketing, it's more to do with not just I have studied marketing, I've done MBA in marketing. It will be more to do with, do you know how conversion happens? So if we are doing an ad campaign, there's something called as cost or per customer acquisition cost. So if I place an advertisement in newspaper or through media, whatever, I divide by the number of customers and potential customers, I will see the amount I had to spend to acquire that one customer.
okay.
What will you do for me to recover that cost on that particular customer? Do you know how that funnel works? So now marketing is going more towards analytics side. Data we all can see, but can someone see the data and tell a pattern that when the conversion, supposing somebody logged into a website or Amazon, who can tell that only when they come to the cart, this is the problem that happens, and that is why we are dropping the consumers that we got in that funnel. If you can find that pattern, then that's the kind of approach towards marketing that they are looking at. If I have said that I have done an MBA with entrepreneurship, that's not enough, because see, someone can't teach you entrepreneurship. It's more to do with aptitude, attitude, and the knowledge that you have learned, right? So a company can clearly ask you, okay, if you have learned an MBA in entrepreneurship, have you started a venture of your own? And you can say, okay, I don't have the capital, how was I to do it, and all of that. It's a simple thing. Meesho is available. You can actually start with, they say you can start with 5,000 and lower than that. Perhaps resell a product on Meesho and show us the funnel of how you are able to sell something. If you're not able to replicate that, how can you do an MBA in entrepreneurship and then go to a company and say, okay, this is how you're going to launch your business? They have been doing it for donkey's years, right? What role are you playing there? So I think instead of asking, I do marketing, what happens to me next? I do HR, what happens to me next? You should do reverse engineering.
Mm.
You should ask, this is the HR field. So the problems actually available right now. For example, in HR, retention of employees is a bigger problem right now. So just the way
Oh,
companies are saying we are laying off 1,000, 2,000 people, even employees have 10,000 options in front of them, right? I can be an influencer while I am an educator, and probably that's a better source of income than this one is. I can shift tomorrow, and even my college loses an asset, right? So the
correct.
question is, even companies require people who can retain staff. So the idea is, instead of asking, this is the field I have chosen, now tell me what's the future, it should be, what is the problem that is currently existing, and how is my learning going to fit into that? So that's how future will always be, if you notice.
Completely
Yes.
agree with you. When students come to me for career
Yeah.
counseling, I always tell them, instead of carrying an idea book, I
Hmm.
always tell them, carry a problem book.
Correct.
Till the time you don't become observant and you don't understand what are the problems in
Yeah.
the society, you'll not understand what's your calling. And that's exactly what you
Absolutely.
mentioned, reverse engineering. So, wow, thank you for emphasizing on that. So, Shivani, then that brings me to the next question. uh, then should the degrees be, I mean, the approach should be degree focused or skill focused? Because right now, what you mentioned was practically a blend of both. So, what it should be? What should the approach be?
The approach should actually be not just degree focused, not just skill focused, it should be proof focused.
Proof focused. What
Okay.
is that?
So if you say degree, it talks about knowledge, what have you learned? Skills talk about what can you do? Proof talks about, have you done this? Show us the results.
Wow.
So if I go for an interview right now as a management commerce student or whatever, and I tell them, instead of saying that, sir, I have done internship at this place, or I have done this particular degree, I should be saying, of course, see, the fact that they've called me for an interview, they have seen my resume. They know what degrees I have done, what all those things are known, right? Why have I come for an interview if I'm going to reiterate what my resume is saying?
Correct.
I have to say something which my resume can't put forth. So when I go for that, what I'm going to say there is, sir, I was an intern with so and because of me, the conversion rates increased from 15 to 20%.
Okay.
Or this is the before effect, and this is the after effect after I gave a solution. So now we are talking about a proof based learning. So if you're not able to give an evidence to, because see, people have become, I was telling the students the other day, decades ago, when I started teaching also for that matter, I saw the shift in communication skill of students. So now I can no longer say they are very bad at communicating. The confidence level, because of the exposure they are getting to media and everything, has increased. So they have become very good at talking good.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. The question is, once you get there, even the marketers and even the employers know about it. Show me the proof, because they know
Right.
every other child has learned from ChatGPT how it is supposed to be answered. There, so then they'll put a googly saying that, okay, tell me then how do you convert this? Tell me then how do you launch this campaign? Tell me if my campaign has a problem here, what would you do? So I would say it's more about a proof-based learning and more about a problem solving.
Then, so in order to become ready for proof based approach,
Yeah,
uh, see, if there are students who are, say, right now in 10th grade or 12th
yeah.
grade, or just about entering undergrad, what is it that they should work on, or how should they prepare themselves slowly towards
Correct.
such
So good you started off from 10th standard, because we
yes.
always go towards, okay, now tell us what to do at undergraduate level, what they should do at specialization. But the
Yeah.
idea is, the younger you start, the better.
Correct.
And now, I was just the other day, I was reading that there was a student, I think she's just 20 years old, 19 years old, but she has been already working on apps and so many things since she was a child, to such an extent that now at the age of 21, she's a general partner with Y Combinator.
Okay.
So there is no age barrier or anything of that sort. If kids can be recruited by companies like Google to be a part of a project, you understand that you need not limit yourself to 12. After 12th only we need to start preparing for an entrance exam, so that mindset has to go. Yes, certain things which are required, say for example an entrance exam to get into a BMS or a BBA or whatever it is, that's going to happen. That has got a limit of age, I understand that, but preparation has got no limit, right? You can start off early itself. So if I was a 10th standard student, in fact I would tell you, when you are at school level you have far more time than what you have once you get into college. So my students at college level understand that, oh ma'am, you're telling us there is so much opportunity. Ernst and Young is giving internship opportunities. Just now I was seeing UNDP, United Nations Development Program. They're looking at remote research assistants.
Oh,
So I was thinking of applying for the same myself. Now these opportunities are there. Students tell us now we got the opportunities, but now we have assignments. Now we have exams. Now we have to go for coaching, so we can't manage, ma'am. So then school time is the best time. So
correct.
you can utilize this time, and how can you do it? See, no one can stop you from building a small product of your own.
Right.
You can do that. That becomes a proof of learning for you. It
Okay.
doesn't have to be necessary that I was intern with somebody. I'd launch my own this thing. That can be a, you can show proof of learning in that manner as well. For
Correct.
school going kids, there are government initiatives in fact. So there is a mygov.in, there's a website where government has launched a lot of these small schemes. They have tasks which you can perform, and you keep getting e-certificates for every task you do. So
Okay.
they say that we have a campaign to launch, help us with the tagline. Give them that. We have a campaign to launch, tell us what should be the synopsis for that. And they have in a competition format. So either you win or you learn, you get a certificate of participation. So you are doing micro learning at your level even then.
Correct.
At school level also, there are a lot of these things such as like swayam nptel for that matter. Also, you'll be surprised to know I had been for one of these. They had the achievers felicitation or whatever, and some of them were school students who are appearing for these exams which are taught by IIT level.
Right.
So what they felt was, instead of learning from YouTube randomly, why not pursue these IIT based courses which are online? In the end, go and give a proper examination, which is a nationwide examination, and get validated for what you are doing, which doesn't have to wait for a 12th level to for you to complete that level of course. So at 10th standard students need to do this. And like I just said, speaking about reverse engineering once again, what kids tend to do is, okay, 10th is over, because I got 70% marks, now वैसे भी commerce नहीं होगा, so let's see if I can get into arts.
Yeah.
This is how the career path is being chosen. And funnily, I was telling a child, who did something random and said, ma'am, now how can I become a finance this thing? I said, okay, we'll figure it out. But what track you've chosen is, you set out with the car, you get on the bridge and say, okay, now how do we reach Nashik or Pune?
Hmm.
And then we'll figure it out when we are midway. That's not going to happen. You will still reach Nashik or Pune someday, but you'll be completely off track and off timing as well, right? So the question is, you have to decide the goal beforehand.
Absolutely.
And the goal should not just be, I want to be a marketing head somewhere, or I want to be a CFO or a CXO somewhere. It's other way around actually. So what you need to do is, there are some simulators available. I think there's a company called, or an app called as Forage. Kids sometimes mistake the glamour of that particular job with the fact that they need to do that. So just because they saw an HR professional taking somebody's interview and firing them left, right, and center, they felt it's an authoritative position
Ah,
and it's powerful. So let's become an HR person. And somebody said, okay, HR person, they do less fun Fridays and those rangoli, and so it seems like a happy job. Let's do that. So I tell them, try a scenario. If you know somebody in HR, your parents know somebody, see if you can go and work there for a week and see. Don't get paid for it. Learn the harsh realities of that job.
right.
And
Shadow them.
then shadow them. Learn from that. And then you will know, okay, this is actually what I want to do. And now come backwards. Like, for example, LinkedIn has something called as a career builder, as a widget or something over there. There you can see somebody who's become a CFO or a CXO, what were the skill sets they had, what were the degrees they had, what was the education that they came from, and then they reached there. So now you need to start approaching institutions based on that. And now, supposing I say that only Ivy Leagues people get into a CXO level in a good company, I have to now start seeing, to get into an Ivy League college, how should I study?
Correct.
Because many of them look at school grades also. You have to be a
Absolutely.
straight A-lister throughout to get over there. Now you need to start at school level. It is important for me to get grades, because if I lose my track record, it's going to affect the ultimate result. That
Absolutely.
is how it needs to come back for a 10th and 12th. And in fact, there's time for damage control at 10th and 12th.
Exactly.
Before that.
Exactly. I always tell parents, they come to me, you know what, we will come at 12th grade for career counseling. I was like, what am I going to counsel you at when you are already in 12th
Right.
grade, because if they come at ninth, then there can be psychometric tests. Then we can
Right.
at least, navigate depending on the child's likes,
Correct.
dislikes. And I really appreciate that you also mentioned the same thing, because that is how things are going to work. Otherwise, it's difficult.
And see, earlier during our times,
Yeah.
there was lack of information and
Correct.
streams were also less. So we were always either this, or this.
Yes.
So within that, this is bearable. Let's go and pursue that. I
Correct.
can understand people not being aware at that
But
point. Of
today,
time.
it's the awareness is there, so we might as well.
In fact, it's information overload. So that's where
Overload.
your role comes
Absolutely.
into cutting out the noise and
Correct.
finding the path within.
Correct. So now, okay, you mentioned about BBA and BMS.
Yes.
Those are definitely one of the popular degrees. At the same time, many are super confused. ये तो बैचलर ऑफ बिजनेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, ये मैनेजमेंट स्टडीज है, सेम ही होगा. That is the approach. Please, because you are the right person to elaborate on that. Please tell us.
So a BBA, let's go from BCom, BMS, BBA. Right?
Sure.
So BCom is ideally more accounting or more accounting principles based or focused kind of a course. So basically, if you want to do a CA, your the base or the foundation gets
Correct.
built from there. So if those kind of this thing, if you want to get into it, specific commerce based roles, that's the best thing to do. Okay. When you're talking about BMS, as the word suggests, management studies, right? It's more to do with how can you manage areas of the business. So functional areas such as within that, it's more practical in terms of how to manage a company. So you can get specialization within BMS. So the first 2 years are going to be generic, and then you start from second year itself to start deciding whether you want to go for HR specialization, finance, marketing, whatever. So now you've chosen from the first year you get to know the generic part. The second year onwards, you have chosen to become a functional expert. Okay. So then you can start managing those domains in a company if you go. That's what is the role of BMS.
Okay.
When I talk about a BBA, because the full form says business administration, now you are apt from the entire business perspective.
Right.
So now you will put together your knowledge of HR, marketing, finance, everything from the perspective of if I was running a business, how would these functions come together and help me run? The bird's eye view of the business is what BBA would ideally do. So usually if you want to go for an MBA, a BBA would kind of prep you up for that particular course. Having said that, at the end of the day, it's not as if a BMS person can't go in for that. So there is an MMS degree, right? So it doesn't matter. That is okay. But this is more less to do with the kind of job you may get in the end, and more to do with what knowledge you're going to acquire in those years, depending on what you're looking at. Now, for instance, if you want to go for something to do with MBA in entrepreneurship, had you done a BBA, you have an edge over the others in the class as compared to somebody who did a BMS or a BCom income.
Okay.
Because you've learned the bird's eye view picture during your initial years. So now when you go to a class and try to put together a strategy for a business, you probably ace it there. That is the benefit of the differentiation between these three things. Apart from that, from convenience perspective, because BCom happens to be a simpler course, because again, assignments and all are pretty intensive when you talk about a BMS or a BBA.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of industry level things and assignments and projects to be done. So BCom has comparatively more time on hand for students. So those who want to pursue a parallel degree along with it, like if they want to pursue a professional degree, such as they want to do a CA or they want to do a CFA or whatever it is, it gives them a little more bandwidth and time to be able to focus on that. So maybe then they can choose
Correct.
BCom from that perspective. That is the convenience part of it if you go to look at it. However, at the company level, if you want to show practical exposure, I worked on this project, I was interning with this while doing this, that is a leverage that maybe a BB or a BMS based course gives you.
Oh,
that's how it is beneficial to choose that bifurcation clearly.
Thank you for clarifying that. Then that brings me to the next question. Now there has been BA LLB traditionally here. New thing is added, that is BBA LLB. How does that give you an edge?
Well, so BA LLB has been a traditional and conventional thing. So
Correct.
what BA does, let me just differentiate the two first. What BA does is it will give you information about things like political science. Okay, there will be sociology and things like that, right? Now, these kind of courses are basically the foundation of how laws were created. So the philosophy behind it, how was society back then, why did these laws come up? So if you want to go towards the philosophical side of it, the cerebral side of what laws are, that's why there was BBA and then LLB making a clear transition into it. Now what has happened is, because there is so much focus on law from company perspective, that tomorrow if I recruit you, you should know how you can apply LLB to business decisions. There was a legal lawsuit in my company, how would I be handling it? IPR based issue hai, how do I handle that? So
Correct.
then they realize that somebody who has done a BBA will have a business overview in his mind. Now when that person does an LLB, he will be able to link law with business based problems. Especially now with AI in
Correct.
all the companies, IPR is becoming a major problem, because it's very easy now to recreate somebody's logo with little bit tweak here and there, and a campaign is ready, and then it's, and whom do you blame in such scenarios?
Correct.
So legal lawsuits are happening left, right, and center. So you require people who have business angle and they also understand law. So they become like a combined package.
Right.
So that is what BBLLB is all about, and this is what it is. But
Wow.
having said that, it's
Yeah.
not as if I'm going to a company, they're not going to recruit a BLLB person.
Correct.
It's nothing of that sort. It is just depending on your area of interest. Say if you want to get into litigation tomorrow or the criminal side of it, maybe company angle is not your forte, or maybe that's not your area of interest. You're not interested in accounts part of it or the finance part of it. You can get into BLLB and still have your law degree. However, if specifically company law intrigues you or the corporate governance side of it intrigues you, it makes sense to go for BBA LLB. Eventually, after 2 years, the third year onwards, anyway, the subject starts blending in, and then it becomes the same. Law
Correct.
part is
The
same for
LLB
both
part
the
is going
things.
to be the
Yes,
same
yes.
thing. Correct. This is more corporate side
Right,
to it.
right. Correct.
Absolutely. And what you said rightly, in the age of AI, with the IPR and data,
Yeah.
it's all questionable, right? I mean, data privacy,
Correct.
especially.
Yeah.
So I think. So, do you mean to say that the jobs of future is? I mean, one of the things is going to be this
Okay.
in the future.
Yes. And I think before I say that, I think every time it's like a disclaimer, right? So
Yeah.
are people going to lose job?
Oh my God.
It's
That's
like
because you know what? On Instagram, if you see, it's the most trending reel. AI आपका job लेने वाला है.
so the answer to the question is AI in itself
Yeah,
will not take the job.
correct.
But somebody who knows how to use AI, or rather, I would say not use AI, but leverage AI to solve an actual problem, will be taking the job of somebody who doesn't know how to do it.
Correct.
That's the bottom line of this. Okay. And also, let me tell you one more thing. It's not as if the companies love automation. Nobody would go for automation and AI if it wasn't solving a problem. It's not out of a trend that because XYZ company to like decided to use AI and automation, let me also do it. They are doing it because they are AI does solve a problem, which is the entry level thinking or the routine based thinking can easily be replaced by that. So that now students are going to ask me, then what do I do? Where's the scope for me to do anything?
Correct.
I said that if AI is becoming entry level, your thinking has to be more like a middle level manager now. So you may enter as an intern or at a junior level, but your vision should be something that if I was at a middle level, what would I have done in this scenario? Then it's worth keeping you there instead of an AI. That's the vision you need to have when you enter a company. So that is what I like to say. And let me talk about the interesting profiles that AI is going to bring along with it, right?
Okay.
So earlier, if I spoke about before the AI part of it, the concern typical managerial roles would obviously be, if a search engine optimizer and all of these things. These roles are always there. Now there's something called as ethics manager or a digital ethics manager, because now everybody is using AI.
Correct.
I think, I don't know, but some government, I don't want to name it, but they submitted a report about their the governance and all that, and the report was AI generated.
Oh.
Imagine a case being filed against a government department submitting a report which is AI generated, and that comes under plagiarism.
Right. Absolutely. So kids are anyways copying their homework.
Yeah,
Should they
correct.
not feel that bad?
But companies need to feel bad in this scenario,
Absolutely.
because they are not going to,
Absolutely.
the kids
That's
can get away with, we can just
correct.
scold them or cut a few marks, right? But if you're working for a company and your department's report happens to be AI generated, it's going to cause them a lawsuit,
Yeah.
and it's going to cost you
Absolutely.
your job and your reputation.
That's scary.
So that's the profile
Sad.
which is coming up right now. So kids have to just be smart enough to learn that the loopholes that AI is creating, and when can we pitch that gap. Like I just said, gig workers and remote workers. So why don't you find a space where you need an, so you don't say I'm an HR manager, I'm a payroll or a compensation manager. It's a very generic profiles which don't need you to be there. A SAP can, so you know how a SAP is an
Correct.
ERP has come right now. I punch in, automatically my attendance record gets updated in SAP. It's going to generate my compensation at the end of the month. I don't need a person to do it. Why are you there then? So there is something called as a LXD is another area which is going to really expand in HR. It's learning and development experience manager. So what they are going to do right now is that if AI is coming up, how can I equip my employees to be a step ahead?
Okay.
So I will now tell them what are the AI tools, but I will tell them my company has these problems. Develop a tool based on this. We are training you for that.
Right.
So AI is going to modify your jobs in such a way. I need to keep up with that.
Right. So then to keep up with such
Yeah.
things, you did mention why just wait for internships and shadowing. But coming back to that part, so how important then these become um, in order to be future ready?
Okay. See now, there was this dialogue in the movie Three Idiots or some movie I don't remember. Where it said कि ज्ञान सब जगह बट रहा है, कहीं से भी ले लो.
Huh.
So now this is the scenario, but let's take a little more serious perspective, right? So you have your degrees, your formal education, because that is where your eligibility to be called anywhere is going to come from, and not
Correct.
just simply have an eligibility, but you need to be a well scorer in everything. So that's going to be there. Look at something called as micro credits,
Hmm.
right? So if you want to equip yourself, so in between, people were looking at YouTube influencers, etc. All that is fine. Now, Coursera, edX, Swayam, NPTEL, and government-based so many platforms have come up with courses who are not just going to give you certificates, are not just going to take an exam. They're going to convert them. Each exam has credits,
Correct.
which you can go on adding to your credit bank.
Right.
So it's not just structured; it's also complementing your academics right now to prepare you for the bigger role.
Right.
Now colleges are giving some of the specializations itself to Coursera and edX and Swayam. So they will say that 2 credits worth of subject, we are not going to teach it. You can learn this from that platform and you can join up the credits and you can still make up the entire thing.
Micro credits.
Micro credits. So that is going to help you prepare for the same. Now, this is all the formal side of the learning, right?
Right.
Let me talk about the informal side of learning as well. Okay, I spoke about Ernst and Young and everything of that sort, but of course, even for that matter, companies like TCS, Infosys, etc., Mahindra has something called as Mahindra Rise. What students can actually do is they can make a combination of degree plus skills, which is going to be your micro credits and other thing that you have learned. The third thing is going to be the proof, which is coming from the project part of it.
Okay.
So you can say that while I have this degree, I have these skill sets, and I also have these projects under my belt because I was in the Young. There is something called as Young Innovator Program, which is by IIT Delhi has this. IIT Mumbai's eCell is very very active. So as I
Okay.
speak, there are so many of these conferences and so many of these startup innovation incubation centers who are launching their campaigns and small competitions. Go take part in it. Many of these places, I think I did not mention one more thing for slightly above graduation level people. uh, IIT along with Swayam also gives something called as pre-doctorate.
Pre-doctorate.
So what I can do is if I am amongst the high scorers in any of their exams, I get the opportunity to apply to any of the IITs in whichever subject area which matches mine. I can do a small pre-doctoral program. Now what is the benefit of the pre-doc? Because of my star or achiever status, I get a slight shortcut entry into a pre-doc, which would otherwise have been next to very impossible to get into any IITs. If you do extremely well in those pre-docs, it's a possibility that they will keep you in mind when you want to go for a PhD program over there.
Okay.
Which otherwise, if you choose to do from scratch, it's very difficult to cut through the competition and get to a PhD at IIT and IIMs, which you can take these shortcuts and reach. So now, if I combine my formal studies, which I'm anyway continuing even now because I'm doing my postdoctorate also right now. So if you do that, plus the skill set, which is all the other courses which I do to combine to it, my third component is the project and the actual things that I've done. Not as an intern in my case, like I told you, I'm also applying for the research assistant, right?
Yes.
So I'm even trying to have the active initiative wala part Put that together. Now, this is a profile that no one can deny, or no one can find a flaw in your credibility over here. You're like shouting from the rooftop that I am meant for, this particular career. So this is how students need to put together these three things. And just one more thing, the typical way you pursue a company also needs to change. So if you are going to give a resume, which anyway somebody does, how is that going to make you stand out? What you do is good. How you prove it or how you put it forth, how you present it is also equally important, because whatever is visible जो दिखता है वो दिखता है, right? So what you can do is, one of my students just told him, prepare a Google sites website for yourself, right? All the things that we've done right now, put them as part of a website. Now when you give your resume, apart from your LinkedIn, put a link of your website. That's a portfolio of what all you have done.
Correct.
Also, I told them, create, supposing you solved a problem for anybody as an intern, as whatever, as okay, if you're not able to get internship somewhere, in a simple way also, look for problems within your school or college, see if you can solve it. I remember in my previous college, people had complained a lot about the canteen and hygiene. My students said, okay, we will take that initiative.
Wow.
And there'll be a before after effect. So if you're able to do that, I can make a small 30 seconds reel on before our group did this. In the end, we did this results. Put the 30 seconds reel on your portfolio and give the portfolio's link to the recruiter. And then if they're seeing a whole plethora of you over there, I think they can't say a no to somebody like that.
Correct.
So this is how I would like to tell them to prepare themselves.
So, thank you so much. I mean, that was really fantastic. Now, but you know what? Still, you see that the kids,
Yeah.
when they are in undergrad, कॉलेज में जाना है तो मजे कब करेंगे, एंड देन दे समटाइम्स एंड अप वेस्टिंग अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम. आई एम नॉट सेइंग not to have fun. I mean, they should have a good time and they should enjoy. But then, what are the biggest mistakes that they are doing during that period? What do you see? I mean, you are an undergrad professor, you are teaching at graduation level. So, what are the mistakes, common mistakes? Then probably the kids who are watching today can, take some things and go like, okay, maybe I'm doing it, maybe I shouldn't.
Okay. So one of the mistakes, of course, is you need to stop something called as herd mentality and peer pressure, right? Just the way they say, keep good company and all of that is fine. But I would also say peer pressure comes while choosing your career paths also. So because your friends are doing this at school level, you decide that's the best thing to do. And why am I blaming today's kids? I am one of them. I think at our life decisions also, at some point, maybe not throughout, we have seen what our friends are doing. We want to be in that. I know some of my students saying that I want to be in this college because my friends are going there.
Correct.
Imagine choosing your career milestones because somebody else is doing that. It's possible that they have worked it out and you haven't.
Yeah.
So that's to be avoided. Second mistake is one size fits all. One size does not fit all. If you are going, so if they will ask me, ma'am, what's the popular career option? You understand, if it is that popular, everyone's going to go there.
Correct.
Which means you're not going to get it.
Right.
You're going to be struggling to find place, and then your pie share within the number of people wanting to be in that also becomes less. You need to start finding out what is something which is not being done by most people. Again, because they are not doing it doesn't mean it is great. They are not doing it because
Yeah.
it's a trap, you're not supposed to go there.
Correct.
Or it is something which is not explored right now.
Yeah. Find the rarer
pathway and start preparing yourself for that. Also, I missed out saying this, but we always look at career as a career ladder. I think we always say career ladder, career path. The word itself shows unidimension. But Harvard itself is saying right now there is something called as corporate grid or career lattice. Now, what that means is, it is not about how much you study or how you prepare for it. It's actually important how fast you adapt, and even more important, so there is a word called agility. So adaptability we always studied about. Okay, be adaptive. अभी AI आ रहा है, learn that skill. अभी कुछ और आया है, learn that skill. ठीक है. The question is, how quickly do you do it? Agile means proactively envisioning that this could be the case right now. Like I just said right now, every time you read a news, your mind should start working. So this should become your new hobby.
Right.
Finding patterns in news, or finding your tube light should get, the bulb should go off. So if I seeing companies are laying off, Infosys is laying off 1,000, TCS is laying off 1,000. Imagine somebody in Infosys and TCS has caliber, and that person is being laid off.
Correct.
Your mind should work. What is it that is making people, asking them to leave the company? What is missing there? And then you need to understand that, oh, everybody who's being laid off is specializing in these skill sets only, but they are being laid off because, don't just look at AI, look at what is the AI application which is replacing you, and then try to focus on that. So agility is one thing that I was talking about. Corporate grid. Now I remember, during campus placements, a lot of my students said that, ma'am, if it's a sales profile, we don't want to go for it. Okay, because you're just looking at that perspective. I told them, listen, it is sales profile, but it is sales profile in a Bank of America, it's a sales profile in a TCS, it's a sales profile in an Asian Paints. Look at it from the perspective that if you were to apply as a finance expert, would you get in right now in these companies? The answer is no.
Correct.
You will have a gap on your resume just because you are eyeing that particular position. Look at the sales position as a way to enter that company, and now spread out your lattice and your matrix. So the minute you get to, just because of scales, hang on for a few months, see if you can do well. It's the highest paying profile, by the way. So I would actually recommend it to the
Okay.
highest part to reach up if you keep achieving your targets. But if that's not your cup of tea, get in initially, do something about it. Meanwhile, when you are in that position, find out the dream department that you have in mind. While you are in that position, start preparing for it. Ask the
Right.
bosses, if I want to get there tomorrow, what should I start doing? Jump into it. Once you go there, find out, is the fastest promotion method concept, fraud detection is the next big thing. Start preparing for it while you're in this position. Jump the grid, go to that. Ultimately, your end result in life is what? I want to earn more money, I want to be more successful, I want to be the next CXO of a company, whatever it is, right? So why are you, what is the fixation with going as recruiter, HR manager, HR head, this? What's the fixation? Use the
Linear
grid,
thought
good fast,
process.
and reach over there. In fact, companies are saying we want BE MBAs right now, because then you
Right.
have engineering background, you have management background. Now when you become manager and come, they'll listen to you because you have engineering mindset also.
Correct.
So look at creating, how do I say, create your toolkit rather than just focusing on a one dimensional angle. And that
Absolutely.
will save a lot of depression in students also. That if you have chosen just that one path and that doesn't happen, you feel the career is over.
Mm.
That is because your mind is not multidimensional. That's the mistake they need to avoid.
Right, right. No, and what you rightly said, linear degrees are passe. You need multi-dimensional profile. The old saying, "Jack of all, master of none."
Hmm.
It's gone. It's long gone. I think we have to be jack of all, master of
Yes,
all,
yes.
or at least jack of all and master of one. That is today's saying. You have given fantastic takeaways, a lot of takeaways. फिर भी जाते जाते one piece of advice you would like to give to parents before you
Okay.
before we end this.
So again, for the parents, I like to
Mhm.
say, don't make them rush into a career decision. Okay, and don't, just the way I said peer pressure for students, there's a pressure on parents, because it's always about competing. One parent wants to, the child is not your project. Okay, this is going to be very hard hitting for parents. They are not your project that you have to, or it's not your home. You know how if your home is better decorated than your neighbor's house, it reflects better on your, right? It's not like that. They have a separate identity from you. Understand that first. So if I have a lineage of CAs in my family, it doesn't mean my child has to do that. At the
Thank you.
same time, he doesn't have to be a school dropout. I understand that as well. So degree and college and everything is important. So of course, the advice to parents is going to be that, instead of later on pushing them into taking a career of your choice, why not be a part of the exploration journey from the beginning?
Hmm.
If you have to play a role, let it be a very active and proactive role, rather than a so you, rather than a reactive role, that this is what people are doing, now you should also achieve this. So be that kind of a person. And of course, like, be a friend. Okay, like, so keep an open mindset. Instead of telling a child that don't do this, don't do that, why don't you yourself sit with him and see, okay, if he, what's the harm if he becomes a guitarist? Let me see what are the options in that. Do the homework yourself, show them the pros and cons, and then let them decide it for themselves. Perhaps let them do a small trial. When we buy a car, we do a test run.
Correct.
When we go to, we ask for samples of food while buying something. Do we have a, did we ever take a sample or a simulation of a career? We never see that, right? So see it as a simulation. Or if you have a friend in HR or banking or something, let the child go there, let him work for 2 days. He'll understand, oh, you know what, dad, I fought with you for this, I went there for 2 days. I think I'm not meant for this. If that is what you want to drive home, let him experience it for himself and let him do it early while he has time to fall, pick himself back, and get back into the race. So I think that's a lot of advice for parents already
No,
from my
but
end.
what you mentioned is absolutely correct. I loved the part where you said about what you said about career simulation. No one thinks about it. Like I always say, do you think about tailoring education? And today I got one more takeaway, even for myself, career simulation. Think about it, guys, really. So thank you so much, Dr. Shivani, for coming and enlightening me, enlightening our viewers with the corporate view, the education view, BBA, BMS, kya hai, and so many things about internships. AI के ज़माने में jobs नहीं जाने वाले. AI is our assistant till
Correct.
the time we know how to use it rightly. Thank you for watching Shikshan Setu Dialogues, Future of Education. Keep watching. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.